Okay, so welcome to Fix This First. We're finally here. So I am Sam. If you're not familiar with me, I am a strategic consultant. I do all of the operations. I am the person that founders call when they are kind of feeling like things are too much, they're doing too much, they're not really maybe sure what's actually working. They're really feeling like they're spinning their wheels. And I have spent the last 6 years helping digital businesses get super, super clear on what to do next. So the structures, the systems, the things that actually make things happen. I am also a mom of two young boys. I am running this business in the margins of nap time and preschool pickup. And so I really do know what it means to juggle a lot and how frustrating it can feel to feel busy, but not really see that progress. And so that's why we're here. We are going to slow down just long enough over the next 30 to 40 minutes to take an honest look at what is happening within your business and make a plan for what we can do next. So you're not trying to fix everything all at once. Really focus on what is going to move the needle in this moment. So it's not, there's not going to be a whole bunch of overhauling, the idea of burning down the business. I understand that. It's my goal to help you not get to that point. And so we are just going to go ahead and dive in. So the problem is not you. If you are spinning your wheels or trying to fix things that never seem to stay fixed, please hear this like loud and clear. The problem is not you. You are not lazy or chaotic. A lot of times what happens when I'm working with founders is that they're just trying to solve everything all at once or trying to solve the wrong problems. So again, it's not disorganization. It's not that you're a bad business owner. You're here because you want to do this work. You want to make an impact. You're passionate about what you do. And I want to just make that easier. And again, just make you super clear on what to fix first. So, most founders are reacting to symptoms, solving from urgency, overbuilding without clarity. So, we tend to fix whatever is like screaming the loudest, right? Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease is a classic saying. The emails are piling up. Maybe there's a client fire, there's an issue we have to put out immediately, a launch that is just absolutely flopping. But these are symptoms, right? These are not root causes. And my whole idea of the work that I do is getting to that root cause and fixing that. So that's what we're going to do today. It's like a triage, right? You go to the ER, and it's like, what are we doing? Why are you actually here? Let's get you seen and checked and fixed up. And so it's very much the same. We are here to assess what is that real source of the friction so that we can treat what actually matters. So I am now introducing the Fixer framework. And if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen a little bit of this. It's a new thing that I'm introducing that helps me sort of talk about what I do. Like what is this thing, Fixer? So this is the framework that I use with all of my clients. It's really how I cut through that noise and focus on what to work on next. So this is sort of a simplified version that we're going to use today as a lens. And I'm just going to walk you through it super quick in case this is the first time that you're seeing it. So F is for focus. This is what you're aiming at. If you maybe feel scattered, you're doing too much, you're unsure of where you're putting your energy, this is where we would start. For investigate, I for investigate, this is sort of when something feels off, but you can't quite name it. So in this phase, we would dig deeper, we would uncover what's maybe not necessarily working. And this might be behind the scenes or under the surface. And this might be maybe that we're like digging into some data. We're saying like, what is this information? What are the numbers telling us? And we're doing some of that investigative work. X is for execute. So we'll skip E and we'll just go right to X and execute because it matches Fixer. Okay, just bear with me. It's the way that it works for me. So you have the plan, right? Like you know what you're doing. You have like a very clear focus. You kind of have a handle on that data. You know that things are working, but it's really hard to get things done. You may feel like you're doing it all yourself. Maybe you're looking to outsource, but you're sort of feeling overwhelmed in that. You might be sort of stuck in this repeat mode, and this is really about how do we kind of streamline the business? How do we systematize the business? And systematize, by the way, does not always mean tech automation. So if already you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't do tech stuff, like I'm freaked out. Don't worry. Execution is just about how things happen. So sometimes that's with tech automations, and sometimes that is work that you yourself are doing. Maybe you're outsourcing, maybe you're bringing in a subcontractor. Execution really is just how do the things get done. And then R is for recalibrate. And so you might be in the recalibrate phase if you are somebody who has been in your business for a little while, you are, kind of chugging along, you've got some revenue coming in, you've got some clients, maybe some return clients, you certainly have some retention, but those systems haven't really evolved, right? Like they're not really keeping up with what you're doing. You're maybe feeling like you should be a little more relaxed or things should feel a little easier, but they don't. And so things that made sense when you first started your business, whether that was like, a year ago or 6 years ago, they maybe have not evolved with you. And so you might be sort of in this phase. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to kind of walk through what this feels like in real life in your business. So this is what this friction feels like in real life. So if you're into the focus category, and I just want you to listen, like maybe this kind of feels like me, right? So if you are in focus, you maybe have so many tabs open, like both physically and metaphorically, in your business, in your brain. Maybe you have a bunch of offers planned, but you don't post about them regularly. You're not really sure maybe where your next client is coming from. You're constantly working, but you can't navigate what you're going to actually finish this week. So you're scattered, you're chasing too many things, you have sort of this unclear direction. Investigate, you have built some good stuff, right? Like I said, you're probably getting some of that revenue in, you've got the clients. The numbers, though, are not really matching that effort, and it's not really clear why that is. So again, we're kind of seeing what is going on here, even if you don't know right away what that is. Within execution or execute, you'll feel sort of overwhelmed, right? You might even have help. You might have a team, you might have an assistant, but you still feel like you're sort of doing everything yourself, or you're doing repeat tasks manually. You feel like there just maybe could be a better way here. And then in Recalibrate, you have systems again that worked before, but they just don't fit now, right? So you have grown, maybe your offers have evolved, the work you're doing perhaps has evolved and changed, but those systems just have not kept up. So you're still running your business like you did maybe when you first started, or like you did when you were a solopreneur, if that's not where you are right now. So this is kind of what it feels like within that realm of your business. So we are going to take a moment and do a little bit of reflection. Okay. So we are going to go through this self-guided diagnostic, if you will, to figure out where that friction is in your business. And so again, through Notion and through ClickUp, there are the workbooks that you have access to. Hopefully those came through the emails. So go ahead and take a moment if you haven't already and flip to step 1, surface the friction. And we're going to kind of work through that gut check and the reality audit and kind of think about your immediate reaction to these questions, right? So, like, what feels the hardest right now? Where are you maybe losing time or money or momentum? And if you could wave that wand to fix something like literally today, what would that thing be? So we'll pause here for about 3 or 4 minutes and have a moment to go through all the things, and then we'll check in just a sec. Just gonna pop in. I'll give a little like 2 minute warning. But some of the things that you might be thinking as you work through this section, again, is I'm doing a ton, but I feel like nothing is actually working or nothing is actually moving. I'm not completing things. You might also be thinking, I know that there's a change I need to make, but I don't know what exactly, or maybe you know the what, but not the how. Again, you might be thinking, I can't keep doing this all myself, but no one can take it over. I don't know how to have somebody take it over for me. I don't even know if that's in the cards financially. And ultimately, again, can it all be me for the rest of this, however this business lasts, hopefully forever. And then again, finally, the systems, right? It's all about, is the system supporting you? Is how the business is currently structured, does that support where you're at? Does that support your evolution? So I'll just give like one-ish more minutes, 1 minute. Okay, we will keep going. We will certainly come back to this, and you have access to this workbook forever, as long as you'd like to keep it. So you can always revisit this offline on your own time as well. So let us dive in to what we wrote down here. So what you wrote down is real, but these are often not the root cause, right? It could be a symptom, but it's not the root. And I just want you to know that whatever you wrote down, I am sure I have heard it before. I've worked with so many clients over the years that have been stuck in the various phases of this exact framework. These concerns are valid, they are frustrating, and they're usually a sign that it's time to kind of shift something, right? And it is likely a little bit deeper than sort of this surface level symptom. So and again, you can all read. So I'll rattle off a couple of these. You might say, I'm constantly producing, but nothing's landing. You might say, I've hired help, but I still feel like I'm a bottleneck. You might say, I feel like I'm building 5 different businesses at once, and none of them are really actually giving me the result that I'm looking for. Excuse me. You might have also written things like, my business is growing, but I feel like I'm shrinking. This feels so much harder than it should be. You might feel like you're tired of reacting, that you just want to lead, right? Everything feels like it's a reaction or putting out that fire. You maybe are also just feeling burnt out. So again, I just wanted to validate anything that you wrote down within your unique circumstance is so valid, and there is going to be a solution to this. So the first step that we're going to take is we're going to think about what kind of friction you're dealing with. So this is where we're going to start shifting from sort of that surface level symptom to those deeper patterns. So take a look at the answers that you wrote down in step one and see if any of these are sort of landing with you. So if your answers were about what you're doing, what you're marketing, you're planning, you're selling, you're creating, likely this is a strategic problem. If you are noticing breakdowns in how things are done, you might be missing deadlines, there's, unclear handoffs, the turnover, in terms of clients, then and things needing to be possibly redone and reworked, likely an operations pattern. If you are feeling sort of at your limits, at capacity, no matter what you do, you're always playing catch up, this is likely a growth readiness issue. And this right here is your invitation to just kind of zoom out, come up out of it a little bit, because it's really hard to see that pressure, that pattern behind that pressure when you're so in the weeds of it. But when you can come up out of that and start to name exactly that type of friction, it can get a lot clearer the fix to that. So now that we have sort of surfaced some of that friction, I would love for you to take a moment to just go to step two, the deeper dig. And we're going to look at sort of that pattern recognition, the ripple effect sections in the workbook. I would love for you to highlight themes that feel maybe familiar. Consider the costs of leaving things as is in the moment. And this is your invitation. This is a very safe and supportive space. You can be brutally honest. Like, what happens if nothing changes, especially in these major friction points that you're feeling in your business? And that might very well be that this business is not sustainable. It might be that you have to look at other options in terms of how you are making ends meet from a revenue perspective. It may be that you have to offload some of the team that you've built. And all of this is normal and it happens, and we can combat that. So let's take a moment, maybe 2 or 3 minutes to go through this again if you haven't already, or feel free to review if you've already worked through this. And then we will come back and keep going.
Hi, Sam. Typical me. Whereabouts is the workbook?
Oh my goodness. Give me 1 sec.
Because I see the first email that had the Zoom link, but there's probably another one I need to go.
Oh yeah, no worries. There was an email, but let me just, I can see if I can pop it right in the chat.
I see it now in the one
Oh,
from
okay.
the other day. So there's a Notion and a ClickUp, and they're the same
Yes,
thing in either, right?
correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
whatever your preference is. Yeah. Thanks, Janelle. Thanks for coming. Okay. Let's give it like another 30, 40 seconds to kind of wrap up your thought. Krista, I hear you. All of the above. Yeah, could be. Could be. So what do we do first? That is the question. We're gonna dig into it right now. Okay, let us continue. And again, you can come back to this certainly. So think about these patterns that you're seeing, right? The strategic, the operational, the growth. It's time to now get even more specific. So this is where we're going to bring in this fixer framework and figure out where that pattern is showing up for you in a particular part of your business. So for example, if you're kind of feeling that strategic friction, that might show up in focus, right? You're working hard but not on the right thing, or it might even be in recalibrate. So if your strategy hasn't necessarily evolved with your business, those operational patterns often point to the phase of investigate, something's off, you can't really see it, or to execute, where things maybe feel bottlenecked, messy, inconsistent. And if what you're dealing with is sort of that growth readiness issue, you're feeling maxed out, you're at capacity, like everything is still on you and your responsibility to do, likely again showing up in execution and recalibrate. So I would love for you to see if you can work through, just have a thought right now about maybe what phase you're in for the majority of what you're seeing right now. And I'll give a hint. Oftentimes, if you are a solopreneur, it's very often focus or investigate, sometimes execute, depending again on what your business model is. If you have a team, you're an agency owner, you have a virtual assistant, different subcontractors working for you, oftentimes could be in execute and in recalibrate. but sometimes focused, depending on how much of the visionary you are. Again, kind of take some time to reflect on that. We're going to go through all of them to see kind of where you might be and with some examples. So within focus, you might say, I'm doing a ton, nothing's moving the needle. I have so many ideas, I don't know where to start. So, for an example, you could be a wellness coach, right? You are juggling those three offers. You've got a one-on-one container, you've got a live group program, self-paced course. You have all of the things that, should make a successful offer stack. You're trying to market all of them, and none of them seem to be getting consistent traction. So if this sounds like something that is where you're at right now, my recommendation as far as your fix would be that we would look at your 3-year revenue goal and assess where your best fit clients are actually converting, right? So when are they coming from lead, actually signing on with you through whatever the capacity is, whether that's a course, whether that's one-to-one work, whether it's, you're working projects. So really clarifying what that one core offer is. And for example, we may find that your one-to-one spots are the highest converting and also the most, let's call it lucrative, working towards that 3-year revenue goal, as well as maintaining your capacity, right? It's not kind of pushing you over the edge. And so we may double down on that. We may say, okay, that's your metric. That's the filter. That's the messaging guide here. Everything else goes on hold as much as it can, right? Like obviously business has admin, there's operations that have to happen. But for the next, 90 days, we would focus specifically on how do we get more leads for one-to-one? How do we convert on those leads? How do we successfully deliver on those and fulfill on those one-to-one spots so that people are doing word of mouth referrals? People maybe are re-signing, into your coaching program, whatever that looks like. But this, again, would be sort of how you measure that level of success. Are you hitting the revenue goals now that you're moving towards if you focus on selling just this one thing? So again, this is just an example. It may not totally suit where you're at in your business, but hopefully if you're sort of in this focus mode, you could see how that might relate. And we'll go through again examples for all of them. Investigate. So again, you've heard this. We might say something's not working. I don't know what. I'm hitting a revenue plateau. I don't know why. You may be a designer. You've got regular leads coming in, but maybe they're ghosting you after your discovery call. You're just not signing as many that actually is going to give you that revenue per month that you're looking for, or per quarter, or what, again, however it is that you structure your business. Maybe you've even lowered your prices. Maybe you have rewritten your intake form. It's still not working. You're still feeling stuck. So if this is sounding like you and you're just, again, not sure why, in this particular case, what I would do is walk through your client journey and figure out where there's points of friction from that client perspective. And this might be helpful if you have a coach, if you have a peer group, if you're in a mastermind. You might even use everybody's favorite neighborhood robot to run your process through and give you some feedback as if they were going through it as a potential client, aka ChatGPT. And so you might say, like, the proposal process now it's unclear. It feels too complex. It's too hard for somebody to start working with me. And so they just abandon ship. They're like, I cannot do this, especially for somebody who's working with folks maybe who have neurodivergence, or they're just so busy and swamped themselves that's why they're looking to bring somebody in to do this work. So again, we have to kind of put on that critical lens to figure out what that fix is. And in this case, you would potentially simplify that structure. You would maybe go through part of the expectations in terms of what the next steps are, what they can expect from you. You might do that on your discovery call. And then you would also create a really clear follow-up sequence, right? There is money in the follow-up. So if, for example, your discovery call process and your proposal process ends after you send the proposal and you don't hear anything from them and you don't follow up, this could be a really, really simple fix by adding 1 or 2 emails where you follow up, and also maybe a 3-month email where you take a look and you maybe have a little task for yourself to go back and check in with that potential client to say, hey, did they implement what they were going to hire me for, right? Like if they were doing a website redesign, or if they were doing, marketing, like social media marketing, but nothing is really happening since since they've talked to you, that would be a really great nudge to say, hey, like, I know we chatted, we didn't move forward, which is cool, but I'm not seeing that you're doing this. Like, maybe we could chat again. And again, having sort of that follow-up, that nudging sort of sequence to make you remain top of mind. So ideally, you cleaning this up with the clear structure, very easy to follow, expectations set up front in that discovery call, for example, and having that follow-up sequence could be the difference between the ghosting and booking those clients more consistently without having to change your offer, change your prices, give massive discounts. And so there is always a solution if we're willing to look at it sort of critically and figure out, again, that there are multiple solutions for every problem. We just have to figure out what works within our business. Okay. Execute. Everything depends on me, you might say. I'm drowning in delivery and admin. You might be a group program leader and an educator. You're constantly recreating your launch materials every cycle, new emails, fresh graphics, slide decks from scratch. You might have a team, but maybe they can't help because everything sort of still lives in your head. And again, this might not exactly be you, but I'm sure there's elements that you might be able to relate to. In this instance, the fix that I would recommend is that you're building a repeatable launch workflow. You're templatizing whatever doesn't need to be reinvented constantly, and you're documenting those key steps. So in the event that you do have a VA or even an agency that you're kind of handing things off to, they can own that and they can get the prep and the setup ready for you. And the ideal outcome, of course, when you start to systematize things in this way, especially if you're bringing on support, is that you're saving hours and you have that time to focus on the higher value work or take a break between those launches. But the reality is that sometimes the team aspect is not always part of the equation and is not always feasible. I would still recommend, even if you're a solopreneur, that you do start to document a workflow, even if it's just a simple checklist in Notion or, whatever project management platform that you're using, which I do highly recommend, even if you're a solopreneur. If you start to build out those key processes, what will also happen is not only is it easier to follow and you can just follow that checklist, but you can also start to acknowledge, like, where is there a delay? Like, I'm seeing that there's a bit of a lag between step 1 and step 2. Why is that? And when we start to see this plan, this workflow sort of mapped out, it becomes easier to spot where those points of friction are and how we can sort of smooth those out to keep things rolling, which again, ultimately will save you time, whether you're doing it solo or with a team. If you're kind of feeling sort of in this recalibrate phase again, what was working doesn't work anymore. My business has changed, my systems haven't. You might be a consultant. You've maybe grown really fast. You might have added some team members, maybe some associates. Again, like I know John, I'm not sure, John, if you're still here, but if you have like an associate therapy practice, there's a team now that you're kind of accounting for, and you're still making every decision. You're answering every Slack message, every email, you're reviewing everything for your clients that are going out the door. And so at this point, my recommendation would be to really look at your operations strategy in a way that's going to reflect your new role. So again, whether it's team related, right? If you've brought people in, or if you're still doing the solopreneur thing, but you are stepping up more into, I am sort of the talking head of this company, if you will, there is something to be said for reflecting your new role, right? So if this role of CEO is somewhere that you're going, we are going to have to implement some system changes to reflect that, right? Again, if you have a team, you might have a communication cadence that you're setting up with your team. You are figuring out how to delegate project ownership with clear checkpoints, defining what success is going to look like for each of these projects or initiatives that you're doing. And you are shifting your focus to the leadership and strategy instead of being in the nitty gritty. The more that you can, again, execute in terms of having those workflows, having repeatable systems, the more it will be simpler to enter this recalibrate phase and get through it more easily. The reality is that we do have to kind of step into this new role, and your business structure is going to have to support you through that. So rather than being sort of that bottleneck and in the business, you're really going to that CEO, that business owner, that true founder role, and your team, hopefully, again, if that's applicable to you, they're having that space to do what they have been brought on to do. So at this point, you probably have that sense of like what phase you're in, right? Focus, investigate, execute, recalibrate. So what I would love for you to do is go into the workbook, step 3, identifying the root phase, and think about what feels the most urgent right now. And again, depending on your business structure, likely it's going to be focus. It could also be investigate if you need to kind of get a handle on the data. And then again, if you're kind of more in the team space and moving in that direction, could be a little bit of execute and recalibrate. Find that section in the workbook. There's going to be in Notion, there's like a drop down with some questions there. And ClickUp, I think there might be a drop down too. They have a different sort of like structure on their docs. So you'll just have to kind of toggle that down and you'll find some more questions. And we'll go through this just for like a couple of minutes to sort of get to that root of that friction. And maybe I'll give like maybe 4 or 5 minutes to kind of tops because I want to get to our personal fix plan and your roadmap moving forward. Just give like a little 2 minute warning. And again, you can come back to this after the presentation. If there's any questions afterwards, you can absolutely reach out to me. So no worries there. And of course, we have the Q&A. Okay, I will invite you to sort of finish your last thought that you're on there and feel free to make any final notes if you need to re-jog your memory when you come back to this. But we are going to go towards the moment we've all been waiting for, and we are going to talk about your personal fix plan. So here is the formula, and this is gonna look like, and this is not my intention. I just wanted to make it super easy, but it's gonna look like, there's the folks on social media that's like, this is how you write a viral hook, and it's like, insert this thing here and insert this part here. Anyways, forgive me. I think it works, this formula. So my business needs me to fix core issue by date or within a timeline so that I can, and then that desired outcome. And so this is step 4 within your workbook, and you can certainly kind of work on drafting that as I'm going through what this means, right? So what I want you to think about when you're working on your personal fix plan, your statement, is to think that this will become sort of your guiding statement. It's the compass for the next 90 days, let's say. You don't need to do more, right? It's doing this thing first and within that timeline that you have outlined based on your unique circumstance. So I'm going to give you some examples of what these might sound like. So within your focus phase, you might say, my business needs me to fix my lack of clear priorities by choosing one main offer to focus on by this Friday so that I can create consistent messaging and increase my conversions next month. Okay. So with that one, we know that what we're measuring by the end of this, again, this month, is that you're measuring those conversions. Did I do the consistent messaging for this one specific offer? Did my conversion rate increase? And we will know, is that a success? If you are in investigate, you're going to say, perhaps my business needs me to fix my lead drop off by reviewing my inquiry and follow up process by the end of this week so that I can identify what's blocking conversions and recover potential clients. And you might say, okay, I've got this process. I've audited it. I fixed it. I have made some tweaks. Give yourself, of discovery calls, if that's the way that you're doing it, to see, does this make a difference, right? Like, what was your conversion rate? What is your conversion rate now? Are you landing those proposals now that you've made those tweaks? If not, again, we might have to go back to the drawing board. It might also be a deeper issue, but more on that another time. If we are in execute, you might say that my business needs me to fix my manual onboarding process. I need some sort of simple automated workflow. Maybe it's in a project management app. Maybe it's in a CRM like Dubsado or Honeybook, whatever that looks like. I'm going to create this week or this month so that I can hand this off to my VA, or so that when I sit down to do it, I'm not trying to remember every single step manually. I can just follow a checklist and everything is more seamless. It's going to save me 5 hours this month. You might say, if you're somebody that tracks time, you could go back and see, did it actually save me the time? You might also just feel this in a really qualitative way, right? It may not be even quantifiable, that you just say, I feel better about this. I feel more confident in the delivery of this onboarding process. I feel like it doesn't take as long as it used to, or it's not as stressful as it used to be. So don't always think that the measurement has to totally be quantitative, although I do believe that the data does tell that story. If you're in recalibrate, you might say that my business needs me to fix my outdated delivery model by restructuring my current services by the end of this month so that I can better protect my time and align my work with my current capacity. You may be somebody who, like me, for example, I'm a perfect example. I worked with clients on retainer. I did strategic operations. They would bring me in to manage and lead their teams. I would do this on a monthly recurring basis. I had 2 kids. It's not something that's an option to me right now. So I have rejigged exactly my business offerings and the structure that I have in the way that I work with my offers with the clients that I work with. So this was, again, an example of recalibration. You might also, I know like content is a big thing, right? So this is very common. You might say my business needs me to fix my overcommitment to content creation by creating a really minimalist content plan for the next quarter. I'm going to do this by next week, and I'm going to stop spinning my wheels. I'm going to start building authority intentionally and consistently by sort of scaling back those expectations. This is the minimum viable standard. Jules, thank you for sharing. My business needs me to fix my project scheduling method by choosing a tool with more visibility that measures time more accurately by the end of the next project window so I can schedule out future projects without running into tension with colliding timelines between collaborators and contractors. I love this. This is very interesting. And I would love to chat more about project management always. But thank you so much for sharing. I love that you have nailed down like there's a tool that's going to solve this for you and it's going to give you that visibility. And so now it's about determining where that is and installing it before that next project is kicking off so that you can feel really confident in how that's running. Thank you so much for sharing. If anybody else would like to pop theirs in, you're more than welcome to do that. And certainly, again, we will go through if there's any questions as well. Krista, thank you. Yes, my business needs me to fix my systems and get my content to dos by September so that I can be a better place and prep for fall launch. Thank you so much. Yes. So now what I would say too, for both of you and for everybody, is what we're going to do next is really going to be the thing that helps guide that momentum forward. So again, we need to think about how committed are we actually to making this happen on a scale of 1 to 10. Let us think about also what might get in our way. What is a barrier that we might come up against? How can we navigate that barrier? How can we account for that barrier? What are ways that we can position ourselves to move forward, still keeping that traction, that momentum to actually reach that end goal of that fixed statement? And then maybe there's some kind of accountability or support that would help if you have a peer group, if you're in a mastermind. You might take that fixed statement and say, hey guys, this is what I'm doing for the next 2 months. I need some help. I need some accountability. I'm going to report back every week, for example. I would like you to think about what is the smallest first step you could take. So if you could get off this call and go and take one step towards fixing this issue within your business, that friction point within your business, what is it? What could you do this week? And I want you to make a little note. When will you take this step? Plug it into your calendar, your notes app, on Notion, like whatever is the place that you're going to see it. Maybe it's a task even that you're assigning to yourself. And I just want you to think about that one single step, right? This is not right now about building that 90-day plan. We're just wanting to anchor that momentum, right? So something you could do this week and not when things slow down, right? The idea is that we're trying to do this while we're also still in our business, while we're still fulfilling on client obligations, while we're still trying to build and market ourselves, right? So let's think about this roadmap from here. So what I would love for you to do, again, and you can take this after we're done with our time together, but think about some specific actions that are going to move that fixed plan forward, right? So let's choose 3. I love working in 3s. There's, obviously 3 months in a quarter. I often recommend only 3 key initiatives per quarter. So I would love for you to think about 3 very tangible, action-oriented tasks and actions that you could take in order to start moving the needle and really gaining that momentum on that fixed statement. And then again, I want you to figure out what accountability can look like for you. And if that means you're DMing me on Instagram, please do. I would absolutely love nothing more than to hold you accountable to getting this fixed. But it could also be a peer, a business friend, maybe it's your partner, a coach, whoever you have in your world that is really going to be honest with you, right? If you're kind of waffling on this is kind of the recommendation that I would have. So again, this is kind of step 5 in that workbook. What's next? You can write down those actions or you can reflect on them. You don't have to have the answer right now, but I do recommend not letting it go too long, right? Because we want to keep this momentum of the fact that you've come here. So, okay, as I mentioned, there is a time to tell you what's going on in my world, and we have gotten there. During this session, we have kind of uncovered that friction. And it's likely if you've been able to complete that fixed statement, you sort of know where you're going, right? You maybe have even mapped out those initial first 3 actions, or at least your very first small step. And that alone is a win. The fact that you're here is a win. You know that there is something you can do to solve that sort of friction feeling that you're feeling within your business. And so I did want to let you know that I am launching officially the Fixer series, which is essentially monthly workshops just like this. And you can get a 6-month pass, a 12-month pass, exclusive pricing for anybody that has attended today or was on the list to get those replays. And so what I have done is I've already mapped out the next 4 workshops. So your 1 clear priority, this is going to help you really gain traction on what is that one thing that's going to move you forward within this fix? How are you going to measure the success of that? How are you going to map the progress of that? I've also got the 30-minute revenue gap finder. I am going to help you uncover within your business model where there might be areas that you can fill in revenue gaps and find more money to make on a monthly or quarterly basis. I also have your essential workflow. This is going to help you map out a key process within your business so that it's easier for you to complete or easier to hand off. And then also that strategic reset. If you're not really feeling like your business reflects where you're at in your life or the work even that you do right now, this is a really great workshop for you. And I am releasing these every month. So if you ever have ideas or things that you would like for me to cover, I am open to it and I would love to help you out with that. If again, if is calling to you, if you feel like this might be aligned for you, and again, no pressure, and we will certainly get to that Q&A, and I'm happy to stay over time to do that. This is the opportunity that I'm giving for anybody who's on Fix This First today, or again with that replay. So you get access to these workshops. There is the 6-month pass, there is a 12-month pass. You get more if you buy more. It's, kind of the way that things go. So you will get 1 free if you do the 6-month pass. You'll get 3 free if you do the 12-month pass. And I'm so excited to share that for Fix This First attendees and registrants, I am offering group quarterly planning sessions for the duration of your membership being active. So if you do 6 months, you'll absolutely get at least 1 quarterly planning session. If you do a whole year, you might get multiple, and I do them every quarter. And this is something that I usually actually only do with my one-to-one clients. So I'm really excited to do this sort of group formatting and would love to have you there. But again, if it's not the right time, I totally understand that. And I'm happy to, of course, answer any questions at all. So that, I think, is that for now. And I will be, of course, sending the replay. I will send the replay as well as details about the Fixer series if that's something that is of interest to you. Oh, thank you, Jules. Okay, questions. Again, I know I'm a bit of a gabber. I'm a yapper, they would say. I would love to answer any questions that you have. If you do need to hop off, feel free. But if you have questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat. You could even come off mute if you'd like to just have a little chit chat, and we can kind of go from there. I would love to help wherever you might be feeling stuck or unsure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Jules says, this is giving me a lot to think about. Yeah, 100%. Totally get that. Happy to chat it out. Slide into the DMs anytime, anybody, or shoot me an email. I'm here to help.
Good to have perspective on like not just okay, something's not working, but like where is it actually not working? Because otherwise we're just kind of stuck in this mode, right? So this is more clarity for sure.
I'm so glad to hear that. I know that, when it kind of feels like that frenzied sort of thing, that even just that invitation to go beyond just the symptom and really like get to the root can be really impactful. And I think when we're in it, it can be such a challenge to like take ourselves up out of it, especially if we're doing the solopreneur thing, right? Like it's not often like we work in a silo, right? It's so hard to see what we can't see. Give a couple more moments if there's any questions at all, but I think folks are hopping off, so that is all good. But I wanted to thank you so much for being here. Really, I am so grateful. This was something that I have been working on, and I'm just so glad that you all made it. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, well, stay tuned for the replay. And again, if there's any questions at all, please reach out and then we will be in touch, I'm sure. I'll see you on the gram. I'll see you in the emails, all of the above. Thanks, folks.